Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and I'm your host, Ellie Holder. And this is a weather and lifestyle news show. Something a little bit different from what you're used to. A little bit of everything. Frozen bats. Are we gonna thaw out frozen bats? No, I say no, no, no. Let's just leave them frozen. No, they're gonna thaw them out. They're thawing them out. 75% of the U.S. could experience damaging earthquakes. Why? We got enough earthquakes, boy. And the earthquakes today, quite a few of them. And we'll take a look at that too. The frozen bat thing has me, just like the rats in New York. You know, I watched Survive, Survivor, I guess, show. And I watched an old one here recently. It's real old. And they were experiencing rats running over them while they slept. I was like, no, no. And then one guy decided he was going to trap them and eat them. Well, it's on an island. They're probably clean. Yeah, everybody liked them. They were munching on rats. No. I'm still stuck on the rats. The rats in the theater got me. Feeding birds, not bats. There you go. Save the birds. Yeah, and the squirrels. My poor squirrels, I think they're even like sitting in my windowsill and they beg me to feed them. They're like, please, sir, I want some more. That's from Oliver. Yeah. And I get them in my windowsill a lot, and they're like, hello, it's cold, we're hungry. And it's because I feed them peanuts. I put peanuts, I got a little shelf out one of the windows of one of the rooms. And so we can watch them. I ought to put a camera on them. But see, then when I got rats, where do the rats come from? You know, I've had the exterminator look under the house. There's no rats. But whenever I feed peanuts to the squirrels, the rats show up and run them off. I'm thinking, yeah, every time someone moves in our neighborhood, we get all kinds of stuff like that. Rats and roaches and ants. Ants are real bad. When people move out. Do you notice that? When people move out, now think on it, folks. You're in a neighborhood and people move out. Do you get pests from it? A lot of people do. And I brought this up to my neighbor and he said, I think you're right. Because every time people move out, I have a problem. I got to call the exterminator back out. Well, could be. Boy, we have got, wow, it was 7 degrees with a wind chill and everything. It was felt like 2 here. And I could not warm my house up for nothing. It stayed at like 72, just would not warm up. Are we going through that? Can you imagine the electric bills this month? The other thing is these EV cars. People are pulling up to these EV um, um, stations, where you power up your car, and they're frozen. And now, not only are the fill ups frozen, you're out of power, and your cars are now stuck. So they're having to tow cars. And they're even saying that this is going on all over the United States with even housing solar panels. They're not, we've got not only do we have the EV cars, we got the solar panels, everything all set up. We got the batteries. And if the batteries aren't have warmers on them, now people in the north know this. People in the south are dumb. They're like, okay, they'll be fine. Well, they're finding out they have no power. They have no car. I don't think this EV thing's working out. Um, sorry to say, it's just not working out. Yes, the squirrels. I love them squirrels. I like the guy that does the Squirrel Olympics, and he has a little obstacle course for him. I've shown him on the show. I've been trying to get him on, and he says he will. And to get a hold of a few people, and I email them, and I don't get no return on the emails. I'd love to have them on. They're great. It's exactly what the squirrels want. They want a little bit of a challenge. They're hyperactive, and they want the peanuts and the pecans and the walnuts at the end. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna get Miss Davis. Oh boy, look at those lows. Look at the lows, and we have snow coming again. They're even saying that parts of the north are going to get 30 inches of snow. Wow. All right, here we go. Time to dig.
Well, not to be outdone by the first one, a second Arctic air mass is moving in, and that means, yep, more freezing temperatures and temperatures sitting well below average through the rest of the week. So here it comes. It's setting up east of the northern Rockies, and this is where temperatures are going to fall as much as 25 degrees below average. So the first Arctic air blast, it is now settled to the south. Here comes the next one, and here's what we're looking at for forecast highs through late week. In Dickinson, -1 for the high on Thursday. These are actual air temperatures, by the way. Single digits up to the north, doesn't get much warmer as you get through the nation's midsection and even down to the south. This weekend, it stays cold. 24, that's the high in New York on Saturday. You only make it to 30 on Sunday. So temperatures lurk below freezing for much of the country right through the weekend.
Can you imagine what is going to happen in, let's say, Australia when winter hits? That's what I'm interested in, because this old Davos, the climate change, everybody's all into, this climate. Well, the woke are. And I want to see what happens in Australia, New Zealand, and those that are opposite of us, because we're getting this really cold, hard, cold winter, just like the Farmer's Almanac said. They said we're going into an ice age, is what they said. Are we going into another ice age? Is Mother Nature healing itself? Susan says, um, well, more snow for us Friday. We got it more coming in Monday, but we get the snow. See, the whole thing with Arkansas is we get our snow in January. So we kind of look forward to it. Now, how stupid they get, like they get 1 inch and everything closes down. All the government offices, the medical offices, the school closes. It's all shut down over an inch or two. Where the North says, really? We're sending the buses out anyway. Kids are going to school in 5 foot of snow. We'll deal with it. Ready? I'm not ready for spring yet. Not yet. I don't want to deal with the tornadoes, because we get a spring tornado and a fall tornado, and then go into May and June, then we go again. It like re-ups itself to where we get a tornado season with hurricane season. And then, of course, then we go pretty much through summer. We're kind of on and off. And then we get fall tornado season with the hurricanes that start back up again in the fall. It's going to be interesting. Is it climate change, though? And my whole thing is I went looking for, it should be on my regular news show. I went looking to see their data for climate change, and there is none. So if there's no data for climate change, is climate change real? That's something, I don't care who you are. You're going to have to look at this, even around the globe. We have viewers over in Israel and Pakistan, Afghanistan, Middle East, Indonesia, Asia, all of them. We got lots of viewers around the globe. Is there something that is happening that would cause you to believe that climate is the cause of all this? We always have El Nino, we always have La Nina. It just depends on the year. We'll have El Nino and it's super, super wet. Then we have La Nina, super, super dry and drought. And then, we have Tennessee on fire. There's already fires sparking up. But I believe that during the winter, it's more controllable. Okay, so let's move on. The latest earthquakes, folks. Um, there's only a 35. And the one that I thought was really odd was Southeast Central Pacific Ocean. Is Karen in yet? Because I was going to hit her up with this one because this is a 5.1 in the middle of all the fault lines. There's one to the east, one to the west, one to the north, one to the south. And pretty much they all are connecting, except for the one if you go to the north. Now we have one that comes around South America. It goes across. It connects up with the Pacific Rise, and then it goes up into the San Andreas. Or it does go around into all the islands. And now this one is right out in the middle of the ocean. Right out in the, it's a recent one that just hit. This wasn't here when I loaded up 30 minutes ago when I loaded up the earthquakes. And this was not here. So what does it mean? Well, if we go straight across, these were already here. Okay, so we're looking at earthquakes that have already happened. One of the bigger ones, 5.6 in the Philippines, Hinatuan. We had one north of Saipan, Northern Mariana Islands, 5.0. We got two off the coast of northern Sumatra. Dampu, Indonesia, 4.5. One lone one in Hawaii, because after looking at the map yesterday in Hawaii having a bunch, Pahala only had a 2.5. And then we moved north to the Aleutian Islands and Attic, Alaska, 3.0. The other one, very small. Here it is. Denali Park, 2.5. Ozinki, Alaska, 2.6. Now, what was odd now, we had one pop up in Port Alexander, Alaska. That's on the southern part of Alaska. And then it moves into on the fault lines. Nia Bay, Washington, which is unusual. If you live off the coast of Washington, and you felt something today, 3.2. It was on the surface. It's a surface quake. We go down to Hayfort, California, 2.7. Straight across from it. West Yellowstone, 2.5. There is hundreds there. I wish Yellowstone would give us the correct earthquakes happening from ones to fives, because there is dozens of them. And this is in the northern part. Everybody keeps thinking, oh, geyser, and it's going to be the center of Yellowstone, and the big one is going to blow. That's not the case here. What we're looking at is the northern. It's a very small volcano that's off the northern part of the park that's been the most active, and that the USGS is watching. Hayfort, California, 2.7. Alberto, Oviedo, Mota, Mexico. That was a 2.6, and we're going over to White City, New Mexico. Always gets them, 3.2. And what's next to it? Westbrook, Texas. And Texas not only is getting a lot of earthquakes, but they're getting that deep freeze, that hard, deep freeze that from La Nina. Is it an attack on Texas? We don't know. But I believe Mother Nature is fixing itself. We have been so quiet on the islands, and it's odd that we had like 6 of them. We had one in Puerto Rico, a 2.5. Our Anguilla, Sandy Ground Village, a 3.5. Dominican Republic, and these are deep, 120 miles deep of these. These are deep. The Yuma, Boca de Yuma, Dominican Republic, 4.0. Cruz Bay, U.S. Virgin Islands, a 3.9. Oh boy, it's not letting me get a lot of these. Okay. We had one out. Ash Kasham, Afghanistan, 4.3. This was 170 miles deep. So in the odd places, they're getting really deep ones. For the ones along the Ring of Fire, very shallow. And they're going to keep building up. What the biggest one being 5.1. 5.6 in the Philippines. Northern Mariana Islands, 5.0. Very small. Those are the only ones. And I looked above, I looked below. Everything is gone very quiet. Am I expecting a 6 point to a 7.0? Yes, I am. So nearly 75% of the U.S. could experience damaging earthquakes. This comes from the USGS model to create a color-coded map of 50 states within its visual key findings. And what did they find? A team led by USGS, a survey revealed the latest National Seismic Hazard Model, which included several key findings about earthquakes, including the large percentage of the country could feel a damaging quake in the next 2 years. How do they know? Because see, Dutch sense. Well, if you're just watching this and you're new, I watch Dutch sense and I listen to him forecast earthquakes, and they ban him for it. But then the USGS says um, that um, a large percentage of the country could feel a damaging quake. Isn't that um, predicting an earthquake? They're not going to let him do it. And he's using their own scientific facts. No one, they say no one can predict an earthquake. However, by investigating faults in past quakes, scientists can better assess the likelihood of future earthquakes and how intense their shaking might be. It's exactly what Dutch sense does. And they've color coded a map. Um, because the Ring of Fire runs along the Pacific coast, it's going to be strong. The other one is the fault line that runs through Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That made the biggest quake caused the Mississippi to run backwards. Huh. Some areas are shaded bright and burgundy, as seen in California, parts of the Northwest, mid and South Alaska, Hawaii. And they're all involved in a project and said this puts hundreds of millions at risk. Why? The USGS noted that this updated version of the NSHM, which is the National Seismic Hazard Model, will offer a critical insights for architects, engineers, policymakers, politicians on how buildings and other structures in the U.S. are planned and reconstructed. It's so easy to tear down abandoned buildings, then give them the money to rebuild, and the government would own it. Rabies. You know, how many times do we hear about this? Not very many times. Rabies alert. Sick raccoon spotted in Brunswick after an encounter with a family dog. The Glenn County Health Department is alerting residents in Brunswick about a raccoon that is tested positive for rabies. Several species, wild animals, including raccoons, foxes, bats, can carry these rabies. Feral cats and dogs can also carry this disease. So think about it. When you go out and you see a stray cat or a stray dog, it's got to be somebody's. So, one of my neighbors. No, shoo it away. Why? Because the USGS says, and World Health Organization says raccoons, foxes, bats can carry rabies. Feral cats and dogs can also carry this disease and other diseases. Rabies is potentially deadly virus that is primarily spread by infected animals. So why is the government um, keeping a hold and going ahead and letting this happen? Shouldn't we be taking care of the foxes and the possums, the skunks, the raccoons? Shouldn't we be doing this? Now, the raccoon was captured while the dog was rushed to the vet. The dog had previously been vaccinated against rabies and received its booster. The dog's owner did not report having any physical contact with the raccoon. They did collect the raccoon and put it into quarantine, where more than likely it'll be put to sleep. So if you're in um, Brunswick is the one that spotted an encounter with the family dog. But they said there's also stray cats, dogs, and other wildlife that is carrying it in this state. Um, Frozen pool equipment explodes. Uh, I I was surprised with this, but then I thought, no, this is so logical that this could happen. Um, when your pool freezes in these temperatures, can they withstand your tanks? Everything out there, can it withstand the winter like it should? We don't need it. It just won't stop. All right. So you can see, it blew up. You got to watch your protein tanks, folks. If you got batteries, protein tanks are same, or anything outside that full of gases, get it to a safe spot under, like under the carport, under your garage. Be very careful because now we're starting to see things that can't withstand the cold now blowing up. No, we don't need stuff blowing up. Um, um, Mississippi chicken plant supplying Chick-fil-A is cited for teen's death after he was struck. Oh, I'm sorry, he was sucked into the machine. It's not every day we hear about this. Mac Jack Poultry was cited for 14 serious violations and fined over $2,000. Um, and so many times you'll see managers or business owners think that they could put a kid on a fryer. No, you can't do that. Come on. Well, now a chicken plant supplying, it says a Mississippi chicken plant supplying Chick-fil-A cited for a teen's death after he was sucked into the machine. What about a steam devil forms in the Chicago River? Yeah. Now, isn't that something? You hear about dust devils, you hear about small sand storms, but now all of a sudden we have um, a steam devil, a steam, um, a steam tornado. Here we go. All right, there we go with that guy again. We don't want him. No, we done seen him. Okay, so over 1,000 frozen bats. Here we are with the frozen bats. The Houston Humane Society rescued frozen bats from Watt Drive Bridge to help rehabilitate them so they can warm up and be released back. Wildlife rescue teams start about 5 a.m. Tuesday, and they visited the 4 bridges across the Houston area, rescuing more than 900 bats. 900, with 300 expected to be saved by this evening, which comes to a total of 1,200 saved bats. We have incubators, which we set a very high temperature. So 95 is about the degrees they do it. Paid for by you. Yeah, this is paid for by you. We're warming bats up. Yeah. We're going to stick them in there, and their little bodies are growing to slowly warm and start moving around again and get their bearings, and then come out of that freeze. And once they're out of the freeze, they'll provide them with some fluids. Well, why aren't we? We're saving the rats, we're saving the bats. What about we save a few homeless people? All right. So PETA. Now PETA's throwing a fit. What is PETA throwing a fit about? The King's Guards. You know the over in the UK, the guards with the big fur fluffy hats. Those are fur. It's made out of bear. PETA says no, we're not going to stand for that. You can't use bear fur for your hats. Animal rights activists want the bear skin worn by the guards outside Buckingham Palace replaced with fox fur. They said nobody will know. Nobody will know. Don't kill the bears. And they're preparing to go to court over it. And what are we talking about? Oh boy, here we go. There's one of the hats made out of bear fur. Does it matter or does it not? Put it in the comments. Yeah, so the group has filed for a judicial review, claiming a failure to adhere to its own procedures, behaved unfairly, breached procedural, and the exhibit flawed decision making amounting to unlawful conduct. Yeah, Pete will throw it all at them, kind of like they do with Trump. And let's just throw everything at them and hope something sticks. Now we got them going after these hats. Leave the hats alone. Come on. If the UK wants to use bear skin, let them do it. But, work with them, negotiate, and say, let's do it with fox fur. Let's just not jump them and protest. Boy. All right. So Lake Michigan can be very unforgiving in the winter. Now, I've showed this every year where a lighthouse is covered, and it's always beautiful to see how each one of the storms that come through and cover these lighthouses, how beautiful they do become. Oh, and then call it the dance of the snow plows. Here we go. Can you hear the dance of the sugar plum fairies? Here they come. Is it a good thing to see up north the dance? They call it the dance of the snow plows. How interesting. All right. So a photographer in Colorado and some even in Wyoming, they can get close enough to get a really righteous picture of the bison. And then they can zoom in, of course, and take pictures. And one gentleman, one photographer, has shared a stunning video of a wild bison. A quiet, intimate moment with one of North America's largest animals. Chris Henry shot the clip in Utah's last winter, and he shared it on his Instagram account. And recently, everybody now wants to share it. But why? Because there's a single tear that flows down this bison's face. It's cold. They can see it's cold, and in fact, they said there's a kind of a shake and a shiver. And of course, they want to linger close to more houses to where they can uh, adopt a house on their own. Hmm. All right. Uh, uh, well, I might get to that one tomorrow. We're going to get to the 35 funny, ridiculous things people witness their friends doing. Sometimes it's friends, sometimes it's total strangers. What are they doing? So this one said, my brother in law had a high school girlfriend who thought Abraham Lincoln was the first black president because he was brown on the penny. My mother in law's reply to her was, and he's green on the $5 bill. That doesn't mean he's a Martian. Hmm. My friend in high school insisted Italian wasn't a language. Why? Because she was Italian and spoke English. Her history teacher left the class to enter mine to tell us all about it, with tears flowing down her face. I heard about a guy shooting his semi automatic pistol for the first time. After the first few rounds, there were no holes in the paper target. So he assumed the gun was malfunctioning. So to check it, he aimed it at the palm of his hand and fired and found out the answer. It's a loaded gun. Oh. Now, this one says when I was in fourth grade, I had to practice a recorder for music class, but my mom wouldn't let me once use the sun has set because she believed it would call all the snakes to come to the house. My roommate in college used to wash her feet by putting them one at a time in the toilet and flushing them. No soap, just a flush. Boy, okay. These are some weird people. And these are true people and they exist. A PhD student on the Fulbright recipient who speaks 5 languages fluently. Now, mine set you. Once they started to clean a bathroom by taking a handful of hand soap, look around and cluelessly for a second, and then smearing it across the sink. Told to me by a friend, his co-worker is not too bright, but he knows it. His son had a bottle of Coke that was had prizes under the cap. He watched as his son twisted off the cap and looked at it and said, sorry, try again. So the boy put the cap on, took it off, and looked again. There you go. Look twice. Maybe something will happen. People kept setting our microwave on fire because they didn't know that you had to add water to ramen. This happened at least 3 times, and I had to put a note on the side of the microwave in big bold letters. It has to have water. Okay, let's see. Um, okay, try and beat this one. A fellow student in a 100-person science lecture told the professor she didn't fully believe in evolution because I've never seen any species evolve. Oh, yeah. I got quite, there's a whole bunch of them here. Chicken pot pies take 6 minutes in the microwave. A friend of mine, kids, said he put one in for 3 minutes because then it's done sooner. And she ate a few bites and threw it away because it was cold. Yeah, see, kids, they want it sooner. They don't want to wait for boiled water. That don't happen no more. Kids don't wait for boiled water. They want it now, 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 and then they don't want it cold. I had a coworker who was blowing up a balloon in his mouth, breathed his own breath back into his mouth, and was perplexed to why his voice didn't change. Helium, helium. That's all I have to say. Um, I had a friend who put a frozen burrito into the microwave, and when it didn't heat up, she threw the burrito away and tried heating up a different one. Oh boy. So, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to stop it at that, folks. We got William coming up in 15 minutes with me and William in the World War III report. Sometimes you don't always get to watch this, like Hellions, Holes, and Poles. Try it, folks. It's a little different. It's news. It's news that you're not going to hear on mainstream media. So with that, we will see you all very soon. 15 minutes, or come on back tomorrow for more of the weather and lifestyle news.